we've all seen how AI has just, well, exploded into so many parts of our lives, haven't we? Your phone, self-driving cars,
Hmm.
it's everywhere.
Absolutely.
But what happens when this really powerful tech steps into the courtroom, into the justice system itself? I
Yeah.
mean, imagine a computer deciding who gets charged,
Yeah.
or hearing a victim's voice, one silenced by tragedy, actually brought back by AI to speak at sentencing.
It's pretty mind-bending stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're here to unpack today.
Okay.
So in this deep dive, we're really exploring the rapidly growing and, let's face it, incredibly complex role of artificial intelligence within our legal and justice systems.
Right.
We've looked at a really wide range of sources here.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from big international bodies like the Council of Europe
Mm-hmm.
to what's actually happening on the ground in places like China, and even, how everyday people are using AI for legal stuff on TikTok, of all places.
TikTok. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our mission here is basically to cut through all the noise, the hype, the fear maybe, and just try to understand the real benefits, the, significant risks, and these deep ethical questions that AI throws up in such a high-stakes field.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is just the sheer speed. How quickly this is all changing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, the innovation's exciting, no doubt, but the core challenge, it really boils down to balancing that tech advancement
Right.
with protecting fundamental human rights, protecting the rule of law. It's a really, really delicate balance.
Okay, so let's start with the upside, the promise.
Yeah.
How is AI actually supposed to make our justice systems better, more efficient, maybe even fairer?
Real. That's the pitch, isn't it?
Yeah. The Council of Europe, for instance, they talk about AI's huge potential to transform sectors like law,
Mm-hmm.
boosting efficiency, offering new technical solutions. And we've heard similar things from Professor Shi Yang in China. He suggests it could seriously cut down the daily grind for prosecutors.
Setting them up, yeah.
Exactly. Letting them focus on the complex stuff, the stuff that really needs human judgment.
Precisely. And we're already seeing, concrete examples of AI doing work in law enforcement and legal processes. It's not just theoretical.
Like what?
Well, in Germany, for example, they're using AI tools like advanced image recognition, digital forensics, stuff to help manage heavy caseloads, sift through digital evidence.
Okay.
China, which has been, pretty far ahead in deploying this stuff, has used System 206 since way back in 2016.
System 206.
Yeah. It helps evaluate evidence, conditions for arrest, assess, how dangerous a suspect might be.
Mhm.
They even launched specific cyber courts in 2017. Parties appear by video. The judge might have AI assistance. But crucially, human judges are still monitoring every single step.
That's important. Human oversight.
Absolutely. The idea behind all these applications is streamlining, making things more effective, handling the repetitive admin tasks.
Okay, so efficiency, streamlining,
Hmm.
that makes sense. But then we get to this AI prosecutor in China. That feels like a whole different level, doesn't it?
It's a huge leap.
Yeah. Going from admin support to AI actually analyzing files and charging people. Researchers there claim they've built the world's first AI that can do this.
That's the claim.
And it's a pretty extraordinary claim. Apparently, this AI can file a charge just based on a written case description
Right.
with, get this, 97% accuracy. That's the reported figure.
97%. It sounds impressive technologically, but...
It does. It was built and tested in Shanghai Pudong People's Procuratorate,
Yeah.
apparently their busiest district office.
Okay.
Right now, it's focused on identifying and charging 8 common crimes, things like credit card fraud, theft, and also this more vague one, picking quarrels and provoking trouble.
Ah, the vague ones. That's always a flag.
Right. And they trained it on over 17,000 cases between 2015 and 2020.
Okay. So this development, it immediately throws up some really profound ethical and human rights issues, doesn't it?
For sure.
I mean, you mentioned that vague charge, picking quarrels. The fact that the AI can identify what it calls dissent or suggest charges for things like subversion of political power or sabotaging national unity,
Yeah.
that really does spark those, Orwellian fears people talk about.
It does.
It hints at a future where maybe human oversight gets minimized, where the state could maybe expand legal definitions using AI with potentially less human accountability.
And accountability is the key word there, isn't it?
It is. Who takes responsibility if it messes up? There was this unnamed prosecutor in Guangzhou who put it perfectly.
What did they say?
They said something like, okay, 97% accuracy might be high technologically, but there's always a chance of a mistake. Who's responsible then? The prosecutor, the machine, the algorithm's designer.
That's the multi-million-dollar question.
Exactly. And there are worries it won't keep up with changing social norms, or worse, that it could be used to target, free thinkers. So when you have a system operating without full transparency, without clear human accountability, well, that just erodes public trust, and it puts individual rights at risk.
That's a really powerful point about accountability. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. What about how AI, especially things like ChatGPT, is being used by, well, regular people? How's that hitting the courts?
The ChatGPT effect.
It's kind of wild. We've seen this whole wave of TikTok videos, people claiming they're using ChatGPT for all sorts of legal tasks.
Like what, specifically?
Oh, everything. Filling out court documents, doing what they think is deep legal research.
Right.
Writing motions, contesting traffic tickets. I even read about one tenant who supposedly won $4,000 from their landlord because ChatGPT found some obscure ordinance violation.
Okay, that sounds amazing on the surface, doesn't it? Like legal help for everyone.
Exactly, but
And it's a big bite, these successes often mask really significant dangers. You have the case of Stephen Schwartz, that lawyer in New York.
oh yeah, I read about that. That was bad.
Really bad. He faced sanctions because he filed a legal brief full of fake cases, non-existent precedent, bogus quotes, all generated by ChatGPT.
And he admitted it, right. Said it was his first time using it.
Yep. Even showed screenshots where he'd asked the chatbot, are these cases real? And it said yes. It just made them up and then confirmed its own fiction.
Unbelievable.
And he wasn't the only one. A Utah lawyer got into similar trouble. Legal pros are shouting warnings from the rooftops about this.
What are they saying?
Basically, ChatGPT is not a reliable source for legal writing. It makes up cases, gives wrong info constantly. It's a tool, maybe, but it is absolutely not a substitute for a licensed lawyer.
So human oversight again.
Yeah.
Verification is key.
Critical. Blindly trusting it can have really severe consequences.
Okay, so that's the user side.
Mm.
But then there's this other angle. Incredibly totally unprecedented, the AI victim impact statement.
The Christopher Pelkey case in Arizona. Yeah, that was something else.
Tell us about that. He was a road rage victim.
Right. And his sister, Stacey Wales, who actually works in AI. Oh, interesting.
She created this AI-generated image and voice of her brother. And this AI version of Christopher confronted his killer in court. It even expressed forgiveness.
Wow, that must have been incredibly powerful. And the killer got the maximum sentence.
10.5 years, yeah. The max.
But the ethics, the legal questions.
Oh, huge. Legal analyst Kelly Brose called it unique, unprecedented. Victim statements usually come from family, not an AI version of the deceased.
Right.
The defense lawyer immediately called it inflammatory, said it provided grounds for appeal.
I can see why.
And Gary Marchant, a law professor at Arizona State, while respecting the family's intent, was really worried about the precedent. He called it completely fake. Not true.
Strong words.
Yeah. He said seeing someone speaking who isn't really speaking crosses a blurry line into dangerous grounds.
Dangerous how?
The worry is how this kind of emotionally charged, AI-generated input could sway a judge, especially in open pleas, where judges have more wiggle room on sentencing.
Could it unduly influence them?
Well,
that's the concern. We even saw that Colombian judge who used ChatGPT to ask legal questions for a ruling and put the answers right in the document. Critics jumped on that, warning about bias or just plain wrong info making its way into judgments.
So the core question is, how do we ethically use AI as like a persuasive tool in court? What does it do to human judges?
Exactly. Where's the line? And who draws it?
These individual cases, they really throw the challenges into sharp relief, don't they? So zooming out, how are governments and international bodies trying to get a handle on all this? What's the bigger picture for AI governance?
Well, it's definitely on the agenda. Countries everywhere are scrambling to design AI governance laws, policies, trying to find that sweet spot between encouraging innovation and managing the risks.
Any major breakthroughs?
A huge one, actually. The Council of Europe adopted something pretty landmark on May 17th, 2024.
What was that?
It's the Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence. It's being called the first global treaty of its kind, setting binding legal standards to make sure AI upholds human rights, democracy, the rule of law.
A global treaty. Wow. When does that take effect?
It's set to open for signatures on September 5th, 2024, so very recently. And then you've also got the EU AI Act, another big regulatory push in Europe.
Okay.
And trackers, like the one from the IAPP, show patterns. Often places start with national strategies or ethical guidelines.
Right. Test the waters.
Before they actually legislate. And cooperation between groups like the OECD, UNESCO, the African Union, that's crucial for getting some kind of coordinated approach.
So what are the core ethical worries these regulations are trying to tackle?
They really boil down to a few key areas that keep coming up. Privacy and data protection are huge, obviously. How do you balance AI's need for data with things like GDPR and basic human rights conventions?
Okay, privacy. What else?
Non-discrimination. This is massive. AI algorithms can accidentally, or sometimes not so accidentally, bake in and even amplify existing societal biases.
Because they're trained on biased data.
Exactly. If the historical data reflects bias in policing or prosecution, the AI learns that bias. There was that stark example in the US with the Compass algorithm.
Compass. What did that do?
It's a risk assessment tool used for bail, parole decisions. ProPublica did an investigation back in 2016
Right.
and found it wrongly flagged Black defendants as high risk nearly twice as often as white defendants, even when controlling for things like past criminal records.
Wow. Twice as often.
Yeah. It shows how systemic injustice can get kind of laundered through an algorithm and presented as objective fact.
Scary stuff.
Kate Crawford talks about AI's white guy problem,
Okay.
how a lack of diversity in the teams building these things means they might not understand or account for the realities of different communities.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the public gets it. A 2023 survey found 60% of Americans are worried about AI in judicial decisions because of bias concerns, lack of transparency.
Which leads to that debate about glass box versus black box AI.
Precisely. People want to know how a decision was made, especially if it affects their liberty. They need transparency to be able to challenge it effectively.
So why does this matter to, our listeners, to everyone?
Because these systems aren't neutral calculators. They reflect the data we feed them, the values of the people who build them. Ensuring fairness and accountability isn't just a technical problem. It's fundamental to justice in society. It affects everyone.
Okay, so given all these complexities, all these challenges, what are the practical steps? What needs to happen to make sure AI actually serves justice ethically?
Our sources point to a few key recommendations that keep cropping up.
Like what?
First, inclusive development. You absolutely have to involve people from the communities most likely to be affected by these systems right from the start, and in ongoing oversight.
Get diverse perspectives in the room. Makes sense.
Second, transparency and accountability are non-negotiable. Algorithms need to be as clear as possible. Explain how decisions are made, allow for external audits.
Open the black box, basically.
Okay. As much as feasible, yes. Third, ongoing oversight. You can't just deploy an AI and walk away. You need continuous monitoring, checking for bias or harm, and being ready to adjust or even pull the plug if needed.
Right. It's not set and forget.
Definitely not. And finally, clear legal safeguards. We need solid rules about what data can be used, how AI decisions are communicated, how they can be appealed.
So rules, oversight, transparency, inclusion. Got it.
But ultimately, it circles back to that Guangzhou prosecutor's point, doesn't it?
Remind me.
AI may help detect a mistake, but it cannot replace humans in making a decision.
Human judgment remains central.
It has to. There are tons of conversations happening inside legal circles right now, bar associations, courts, about how to handle this.
But things like a full-on AI lawyer or witness, that's still sci-fi.
Oh, extremely far down the road. These really impactful uses, like that AI victim statement, they needed what someone called the perfect situation,
Yep.
tech-savvy people, a court willing to allow it. It's experimental.
And potentially problematic.
Definitely problematic. The risk of a court being swayed, as you said, by something AI generated that isn't really real, that's bound to lead to appeals, to more litigation.
Asking that fundamental question, did the AI actually change the sentence?
Exactly. Did someone get a harsher sentence because of an AI's influence? And zooming out again, we just have to keep hammering this home. AI tech isn't impartial. It mirrors its data, its creators.
Right.
So the real test isn't just making the tech better. It's about reshaping the organizations, the communities, the systems that use it to make sure human values stay front and center.
What a complex landscape. This has been a really deep dive. It's so clear AI has this incredible potential to change justice.
Huge potential.
But it comes packaged with these equally massive human rights and ethical questions. It's moving so fast, it definitely demands our attention.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
Considering how fast AI is evolving, I mean, that Council of Europe Treaty was just adopted in May 2024, opens for signature in September 2024.
Just now, basically.
Just now. What new legal puzzles, what new ethical dilemmas do you think might pop up by the end of, say, 2025? And maybe more importantly, what role do you think technology really should play in how we pursue justice?
Definitely food for thought. That wraps up this deep dive. We really encourage you to keep exploring these topics. They're only going to get more important.